Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, everyone, to the Building Resilience Summit Act 6, which is going to be Diverse Resilience Perspective. So it's a mouthful, right? Now, this event aims to offer a holistic understanding of resilience and its applicability across various facets of life. So I'm very excited today for these three speakers who are going to be giving their insights on and thoughts on that. And I just welcome everyone. I'm glad that you guys took the time to spend your Saturday with us. We know that you could be doing so many other things. Tomorrow's the Super Bowl, we're getting ready. We got, events tonight, things like that. So I'm just very honored and privileged to be able to be here and just be a part of this and hear, what the speakers have to say. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Ricky.
Today's special, Act 6, y'all. Act 6. Oh, and we got two Brians, and we had Yvonne. So I wrote a little something that I want to say about today because it's really significant about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I'll just say today, RCA will bridge geographical divides, uniting us in a shared journey of empowerment and transformation. Why I say that is because Yvonne will be speaking from Los Angeles, California, with an audience. Brian will be speaking from the Bay Area, California, with an audience. And Brian will be speaking from Texas to our online audience. RCA is bridging this divide, y'all, this geographical divide. And it's really powerful, and it brings me chills about, like, we're on Act 6. And we're not stopping here, y'all. So while we do this, our mission at Returning Citizen Association is to increase the economic, political, and social capital of returning citizens in the United States. Now, for us to do that, we have to collaborate. You hear me? Like, we have to form these coalitions. And this is an example of that today. So I just want everybody to enjoy what's happening here. We say nothing about us without us. Nothing about us without us. We say we have the lived experience. We know what works. Most of these people that you will be talking to has been free and been thriving in the community for many years. That's huge to us, right? And now we're telling our story. And what we say in that is that we are reclaiming our lives and reclaiming our stories. Just let that sit in, all right? Reclaiming our lives, reclaiming our stories. But this is my white cousin. You know what I mean? This brother right here, Andrea, you tell him a little bit, then let me tell him a little bit about this brother right here. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, Brian Tomasello. So Brian is a former life-term inmate. He's a husband. He's a father. He's a successful businessman. He's the host of our Bay Area event today. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Ricky.
Yes. Now, this brother right here, this goes back to what Yvonne said about how we gravitate to our peers, right? So right now, what we're doing in 2024, been doing since 2022, probably since about, way before that, since we got out of prison. We've been doing things, and it's called positive. It's called successful. It's called, empowering, right? It's transformative. This brother right here, I met this brother when I was a young kid, trying to find my way. And I ain't gonna lie, all the things that they was doing was looking good, but they was bad, absolutely bad. So much bad to where they landed Brian in prison, right? And he'll tell you all about it. But see, I didn't know about that. So I was already on my path to badness. But the thing about this brother is that they still had boundaries. They wouldn't let me do my badness with them. When it's time for them to go do their badness, they say, no, you can't go. Ah! So now what we're doing today is so powerful because we can influence people in a positive way. We can influence people with the other Brians and the education stuff. We can influence people with the Yvonnes and the connecting the dots, the young ladies, right? And we can influence people with this kind of Brian who went through their struggles and now can stand up, under that resilience as a success, as a testament to, what it is to be a returning citizen. So with that, I'm going to pass the ball to my white cousin, my brother. Welcome, brother.
Okay, wonderful. Hello, my name is Brian Tomasello. I'm a former life term inmate. I spent 17 years in prison, incarcerated at the age of 21. But before I get on this, I just want to thank Dr. Hodgkins for the historical and personal graphics. And Yvonne, thank you for your story and perseverance and success. It's really testament to everything that we're doing here today. At 21 years old, being incarcerated, it was a time that started the road of reflection. And what I mean by that is, early on, Ricky, myself, other guys that I associated with, we were not doing the things that were socially acceptable. And as a result of not doing the things that were socially acceptable, behaviors got worse and worse. My behavior became so outrageous that I ended up committing that was very, very traumatic to a family and unwarranted, quite frankly. Good people. And so, I have a history of my father. He was actually a San Francisco police officer for 31 years. And so I knew better, but knowing better didn't always translate. I look at the time of finding the excuse, like Yvonne said, finding that time where I was a victim or it wasn't my fault, always looking to blame circumstances. And circumstance that I hung my hat on was my folks being divorced, our life being disrupted, and not knowing how to handle that as a mature young man, actually a teenager. Anger, resentment, didn't know what those were necessarily, but I acted out on them for sure. When I committed my crime, my family was devastated, obviously, much like everyone else who knew me. But they didn't know that side of me, my real friends in my family. They didn't know that side of me, but it all came to light. And my father, I'll never forget him saying to me, he said, your mind will never be captured. Your body will be, but use the time while you're incarcerated of being broken down only to be rebuilt. And so I live with that, but it took me some time though. It didn't happen just right away. Old habits are hard to break. And quite frankly, I still struggle with some personal issues today. But that doesn't make me a bad person. It makes me a person who's aware of their feelings now, for sure. And sometimes I don't adequately express those feelings, and I still have to find a way to healthily release resentment and anger, sadness, disappointment. When I was incarcerated, we talk about family life and the influence that had on us. And I think as we were in a little intermission, we had that talk of the differences between a male being raised and a female being raised. And it doesn't always it doesn't always seem equal, right? And it's very unfortunate, but that's why we're here today, because we all have a cause, and we all have a story, and we all have a purpose. And when I was incarcerated, I was, as I said, a life-term inmate. I went to the parole board 5 times during a political climate in which you were told no lifer will parole other than a pine box. And I didn't believe it though, man. I didn't believe it. That's not going to be me. Nope, not going to be me. Not. I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here. And, you know, first time denial, didn't happen. Second time denial, didn't happen. Third time denial, didn't happen. And it was heartbreaking because I started like finding myself thinking, is it possible that this may happen? Because every day in prison is uncertain. Every day in prison is so uncertain that you don't know what's going to happen around you at a moment's notice. You may be aware of it. You may be aware that something's going to happen, but you don't know when. And you don't know how. You don't know how. And what I say, I say that to say this, because you can be caught up. And being caught up could cost me my life. Because when I went to the parole board, I had discussed, you know, why I was here. Well, one of the things I had to do was accept. But I got to tell you, when you go in there with a 115 for some violent outbreak that you may not necessarily have been part of, orchestrated, or whatever, but you were caught up in it, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Because if you were to try to explain something about what was happening, you're just falling on prior behavior of making excuses and not accepting responsibility. My wife, who, like Yvonne said, women come and visit the man that they love, you know. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one because, you know, our relationship wasn't promised, you know. Our relationship wasn't promised. Our life was a dream. And yet, you know, she was resilient. She kept coming. She believed. And not all the time do I live up to her expectation. And for that, that's my shortcoming. But I do love my wife and my family because it was all a dream. And now it's reality. One of the things that helped propel me to find the acceptance was a man by the name of Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, you know, was a Holocaust survivor. And during this time period, he wrote a book about his experience of a man's search for meaning. And what it states is that we give purpose to our suffering so that it can be relieved. A belief that life is filled with suffering and that the only way to survive is to find meaning in it. And I was there, man. I found meaning in my life. I found meaning in my calling. I found meaning in that, you know, Ricky and I, we talked recently and you know, some of the things that he shared, I saw myself. I started writing curriculum. I was trying to help folks better themselves. I was in a position while I was incarcerated for my ethnicity that was a life-changing position for some folks. And rather than using that negativity, I used positivity. I wanted my younger homeboys to get educated. I wanted them to find a way out of this. If you didn't have your GED, sign up. That's what you're going to do. And education was the key for me. You know, I wasn't at the domino table most of the time, just counting the days to go by. I prepared myself for this day. I prepared myself for my release. I prepared myself for this life that I had dreamed about. And that life came to fruition. That dream that I would be home, that I will marry, that I will have a child. And interesting enough, in my dream, my first child was going to be a daughter. And that's what I had. I had a little girl. Because I always wanted daddy's little girl, you know what I mean? So now I have a son, and life couldn't be greater. Life couldn't be greater. But it was all about never giving up. Every time I went to that parole board and got knocked down, I would walk out of there and I would use some of the verbiage from like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. Lord, help me accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because I knew that when I went into that parole board, I wasn't the same person that committed this crime. I knew I was that person that was going to be able to walk freely amongst my fellow citizens and be a contributing member of society. I knew that. I felt it. I knew who I was. And prison wasn't me. Prison wasn't me. Didn't look good on me. Didn't wear it well. Didn't wear it well. We talk about ethnicity. Dr. Hoskins brought that up. Looking at the world as a Black man, the trials and some of the tribulation that's associated with skin color, which is outrageous. And as a white man sitting here today, who, by all intents and purpose of societal norms, is supposed to be a contributing member to society, right? I wasn't that. So it gave me the opportunity when I was incarcerated to see from a different perspective of what it might be like as a discriminated person. Because now when I came home, I had to check that box that I was a felon, right? I had to check that box. When I came home, I now had the parole department coming to my house on unscheduled visits, task force sitting me down in my living room, cuffing me up, asking me questions, going through my house. I now had a parole agent who was very deceitful, who would try to catch me slipping, even though I was living life the right way. See, Ricky, by what he's putting together, I feel honored that I can get around that. I feel honored that I could be part of this, that maybe in some way my story might be able to help somebody else. And so that's why I am able to get around this, because at one time on parole, my parole agent asked for me to come to these PAC meetings and talk to those persons who are being released or going to a college and lining up with other persons for the college students to go ahead and try to decipher which person's incarcerated and who's a parole agent and all that. And so I felt like I was being exploited by the system. And by being exploited by the system, it was this progression of knowing what the system was like, knowing that they don't really care about you for the most part, and that you're just a number. Because if they did care about you, then your agent, while on parole, will respect your time and the fact that you're a full-time employee and that you have a baby in the house and you living right. But, you know, the calls, I'll be there and never show, knowing that you have to go to work. Oh, I'll be there tomorrow, not show. And so it became very hard for me to be a part of that cause. And I just wanted to disassociate myself completely and wanted not to have anything to do with what I'm doing here today. And Ricky, he showed me that this organization that he's put together is exactly what I was looking for. And I'm happy and proud and honored to be a part of it. Honored to be a part. You know, but I also want to share a positive story about a parole agent. See, I wasn't beholden to my race while I was incarcerated. Right? I didn't, although I was Contra Costa County. See, people from the Bay are a little bit different. They're just a little bit different. And particularly where I grew up, you know.
Bro, I never do this, but I got to.
Yeah.
You're a significant person. Like, I never do this, but like you are kind of person that has the keys to the car when you're inside them places. And that means something. And that can go either way. It's like, what kind of leader are you, right? So kind of explain what you say when you say you Contra Costa County and what that means to people who don't understand that.
So what that means is in prison, it's not only racially segregated, it's also segregated amongst your own race. You know, so, you know, you have on the Hispanic side, you have the Paisas, the Northerners, the Sureños. On the brothers, you've got Crips, Bloods, BGF. It goes on. And for the whites, you know, mostly, you know, you've got guys that are just county based. And Contra Costa County in the prison system is, if, you know, this might offend some people, but quite honestly, it's the truth. They are probably the most recognized county system wide. And having been part of that, you know, Ricky mentioned about holding keys. Keys are a position of being able to direct things. And it also comes with a lot of politicking. So my goal when I was in Solano, I came from Old Folsom at the time. And when
one more thing. And some people, they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice, though. It's not like they have a choice. Like some people, blacks, we have a choice. Some races, they just don't have a choice, y'all. They from this county. Yeah. I'm sorry. I had to explain that part.
Yeah, that's it, Ricky. You know, so that's awesome though, because because here it is. There's like a wealth of knowledge, right? Everyone knows exactly those that have been incarcerated know exactly what I'm speaking about. All right. For those of you that haven't been incarcerated, it's very much, it's segregated, and you really don't have a choice. I mean, as for a white man, I can't bunk with a black man. I could, but it's going to come with a lot of consequences. So my goal was to have those that are coming in, my homeboys, not to be part of the bullshit, but rather than being part of the bullshit, to get their education. And that meant, either getting your GED, signing up for the free community colleges that were offered, to get a trade. You weren't going to be on the yard hanging out. Period. That's what wasn't going to happen. And then as a result, like when I spoke about Ricky, like hearing myself, when he talked about this recently, I was writing curriculums to get people out, out into the yard when the yard wasn't open. There was just all kinds of things to help, and that was my way of giving back while I was there. But I knew that the more I did it, the more it rubbed off on me too. Like better I became. So incarceration was, definitely an experience that molded me into the man I am today. Compassionate, caring. I fight for those that don't have a voice, or whose voice isn't loud. I want to offer opportunity to people that opportunity isn't always there for them. So I'm kind of getting off a little bit, with that prison experience, and I kind of geared away from what I was talking about with parole, because I do have a positive story that comes with it. And as much as I was being used by the system, as much as these several parole agents didn't respect my time, there was this woman that was a CO, and she was a CO in Folsom with me, and she was a CO in Solana with me. And she was this little sister. She was, bourgeois, loved her. I don't know if I should use her name, but I am. And I had a best friend who was a black guy, and he and I both had life terms. And I hired Jay. Jay works for me now. And we would talk about life oftentimes. And Bourgeois, who was a CO, called us salt and pepper because we were inseparable. And this dude was a figure. I mean, he was one of those cats that holding keys. But we had this mutual respect for one another, and a brotherhood, man, like the military in a way, right? Form this bond with those people who are like-minded and are strong and trying to empower others. So Bourgeois, she ends up going from Folsom to Solana. And then after having gone through, I don't know how many parole agents I went through, 4, 5 in 5 years, and each one very different, each one not respecting the time and you trying to do the right thing. The last one told me that he was being reassigned. Now, my little girl was like 2 years old at the time. And I was like, oh man, I had like 6 months left of parole. Fuck. 6 months left. I'm almost there. I'm at that finish line. But I don't know what this next person's going to be like because they've all been equally different and difficult. So he's in my house and he said, I'm being reassigned. So you're going to be assigned a new parole agent. I'm like, okay. And he said, her name is Bourgeois. Man, I straight faced it. Oh, okay. All right. When's this happening? He said, well, she'll be in contact with you. All right. Man, could this really be the person that listened to me tell my dreams to, who inspired me to be better, who believed in me from the inside, a person who was holding me captive? Could this be true? Man, she showed up at my house and I swear to God, hugged her, because it was like, we talk about like these events that happen in our life, and this was a positive event that happened. Told her my dreams, that one day I will come home, and here it is. She's giving me my walking papers. She paroled me. She gave me my papers, man. Serendipitous. Couldn't believe it. But it was fitting. And I couldn't ask for a better ending. That's for sure. That's for sure. I couldn't ask for a better ending. So there's ups and downs that come with incarceration. There's emotional highs, emotional lows, uncertainties of what I'm going to do, what's life going to be like when I come home, how am I going to be able to adjust? For some of us, adjusting may be easy. For some of us, adjusting may be difficult. I ran into many folks who adjusting was very difficult, because over my period of almost 18 years, I saw those faces several times being violated on parole because they couldn't shake a habit, or they just didn't have the resources available to them to get out of that rut. And it's difficult. It's difficult. But I knew that the streets were not unfamiliar to me. I knew that I was given the tools to be a good person. I knew that I was going to do everything I could to be a successful person, not only for myself, but for everybody that believed in me. Everybody that believed in me. Everybody that doubted me. Everyone that doubted me too. Everyone that was happy to see me incarcerated, I was going to prove that I was better than that. And I am better than that. I am better than that. I rose up. I didn't let it hold me down. I didn't let it hold me down. So I know that, there's different existential circumstances for those returning home. I get it. But that's why we're here. That's why there's this wonderful community being built to help those that need guidance or assistance, or listen, how did you do it, man? What is it that propelled you to get into the position that you're in today? Because it didn't start, or it didn't stop when I was released. It's still happening today. We all find ourselves in a uneasy situation. Could be socially, economically. But there's tools and there's people around us that have gone through those circumstances, who have found a way to better themselves, better their lives, to stay out of prison, and to be resilient socially, amongst brothers and sisters, amongst the community, and economically, right? Economically resilient. And that is to be a contributing member of society, to be a person who is able to stand on their own 2 feet, look adversity in the eye, and say, I'll persevere. I'm resilient. Nothing's going to hold me down. So that's my story in a nutshell. I'm just very grateful that I have folks like returning citizens, and what I mean by being grateful is that I'm not alone. I'm grateful that there's people who are like-minded, who have faced those circumstances and have overcome, who have beat parole, who have beat the system, who have not continued to be a contributing member to the government, to those that want to, get rich off keeping people incarcerated. And I look forward to seeing how this organization is going to grow. That's I mean, I feel it, I see it, and I can't wait to be a contributing member to it. And so with that, Ricky, I just want to say thank you. I'm humbled. And I want to say, this is going to be a very, very powerful experience for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. You're very welcome, sir. Oh my gosh. Before we get into the question and answer sessions, Andrea, you want to say anything right quick after that? Because man, gosh, thank you, brother. Thank you.
I just want to say that real quick, hold on. I just want to say I love the part where Bourgeois, is that her name?
Yeah, that's her.
Okay, so Bourgeois was a CO. She saw you in the system. She was, locking you up or wearing the keys. And then here, all these years later, she's your agent, and she's the one that gives you the, your walking papers. So, and there are those agents that want to see you succeed, and they want to aid you in your future. So that's just awesome that it was her. Yeah. So it's like those are those full circle moments. I've had so many since Ricky has been home. When I was with Ricky, and when I was with Ricky, people made fun of me. Like my coworkers would crack on me because I'm with someone who's in prison, serving a 25 to life sentence with no date. They just crack on me, always be like, everybody gotta have a dream, from that Hustle and Flow movie. They'd always crack on me, like Ludacris would tell what's his name, like, with the cassette tape, like, I don't know, but just those full circle moments. So I'm just so happy that you shared that full circle moment with Bourgeois, and that's awesome. Very inspiring. Thank you for sharing.
Full circle. Full circle.
Yes, and I'll just say a couple of things about the whole what works, right? We the evidence of what works. Brian didn't say it, but he's been home 13 years. Yvonne said she's been home 20 plus years. Like we are the evidence of what works.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I couldn't make it in person, Brian, but your story was awesome. Everybody's story was awesome. I loved it. I could relate to all of you guys' story. But Brian, I got a burning question for you. What did you do not to get how did you end up going to the board 5 times? I'm so interested in that. Like, why did they deny you 5 times?
Hey,
So like I said, yeah.
Brian, before he explained that, do you understand the resilience that takes? Like you have to understand, I went to the board the first time and got out. Blessed after 24 years though, it was really, really, really like it was like paramount in my life. My mother had just passed. I get emotional right now, but my mother had just passed, and just to think about getting denied on that time. Oh my God, you don't know. I don't know what I would have done. Honestly, I would have kept pressing forward because that's in us. But I'm just saying, 4 times of getting denial. That's a great question, Nina, because that is a mindset and that is a spirit and that's some support that we need to talk about. Because there's men in there that's still going through that and going to go through that, and women too, though. And Brian, I commend you, bro. I remember when you told me first time, I was like, I want to stop everything right then. We had a long conversation, but I didn't stop it. But I wish I could have stopped it right then and say, like, what? How the hell did you do that? What did you do the first time, and then the second time, and then the third time?
So the first time I went up for parole was interesting, right? The first time I went, I told you I had that mindset that it wasn't going to be me. Like this isn't me. I'm not gonna go home in a pine box. But you have to remember that the political climate at that time was very, very, it was geared towards mass incarceration. And at that time, we were also dealing with a huge amount of overpopulation. So the first time I went to parole, I was denied 1 year. That's the minimum you can do. In my sentence, see, I was only a maximum of 2-year denial. Whereas if I had a murder or something like that, the maximum was a 5-year denial. But because it was a kidnapping, it was only 2. So denied the first time 1 year. And I was like, okay, all right, man, it went pretty well. I think the next one I'm going to get out. And so go back to the next one. And it went from a 1 to a 2. And then it stayed at 2s. And when it stayed at 2s, my last hearing, they had just signed into law maybe that year or earlier that year called Marcy's Law, I believe it is. Don't recall. But the minimum denial now for all life term inmates was a 3-year and the maximum of 15. And the ranges went 3, 5, 7, 10, 15. That was the ranges. So you talk about the resilience of having been denied parole. Well, I can remember that much like Yvonne, like sometimes you got to lie, lying becomes easy. I had to lie to myself. And honestly, I had to put on that happy face for my family and had to show them that I'm all right. I couldn't let them see me cry. I couldn't let them see me disappointed, although I was shaken to the very core. It's like when you fall off your bike, you got to get back up, man. You got to ride it. You got to knock that dirt off. And that's what I did. And that's what I did every time. Every time I got knocked down, I got right back up, man. And there was no no scarier time for me than that last hearing that I went to. That's it, Ricky.
I said what I said because a lot of people haven't experienced a life sentence, y'all. And we can joke and play about it, but it's serious business because it take a lot. And like you said, political comment. Y'all remember when I said something about Pete Wilson and Gray Davis? These governors wasn't letting people home. They said life means life to them.
That's right.
And that's serious, y'all, when y'all life. But when we're looking around the terrain, we saying, look, this can't be the end of me. This can't be the end of me, y'all. You know? Go ahead, Brian. What you gonna say, bro?
I think she's talking about Brian as far as on with now. And I think she's talking about what did you say differently?
Yeah, I saw that. I just saw her comment. I'm sorry, I got kind of off track, Nina. So what did I say differently? What did I say differently? Well, one of the things I said differently was I accept full responsibility. that was one of the things I did differently, right? You know, like, and it wasn't that I wasn't taking responsibility. It was just that I was not taking full responsibility, man. It was like, you know, you know, one of the things that they want to know is like your insight into the crime, right? What I say differently? I said what happened. This is what happened. This is what I did. This is how I knew better. This is how I transformed, right? That's what I said differently. By understanding the mindset that put me in the position to believe that it was okay to victimize another human being, to understanding that I had the choice to stop. I had the choice to say no, but I didn't. And so that's what I said differently, Nina. That's what I said.
I'm sorry. Also, Brian, I got one more question. Brian, how was your relationship with your dad when you was going through all this rebelliousness?
Yeah. So my parents had split up, and so, you know, like I said, anger, resentment. But our relationship currently or during the time?
During the time you was messing up? I think
during the time I was incarcerated, because he wasn't aware.
But what do you mean he wasn't aware? So one thing I say for really significant for me, you said your dad was a 31-year police officer. That's fucking significant to me. When I meet you cats like that in the prison, I'd be like, what the hell you doing in here? What's going on? I swear, when I meet them cats, I'll be like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
I know my life was fucked up. What you do? Excuse my language, but I'm like, what you doing in here? So I don't know if that's the question you have, Nina.
I was talking about both, Brian, now and then.
Yeah. So now and then, like, you know, that's how, like, when Yvonne was talking about, you know, like, you know, just lying and shit like that and cheating or whatever, right? So, you know, my dad, you know, I did everything. I played sports. He didn't question, you know, my behavior, you know, but I was getting high and, you know, hanging out and started selling dope, just all that shit. And then when I got arrested, that's when it all came to light, right? That I wasn't living right, obviously. And what he said to me was, you know, like I said, this was an opportunity for me to rebuild myself, to rebuild my character, to make him proud. That's what he said. It's an opportunity to make you proud. But he also told me that I will never put a knife in his back again. So when he told me, you know, that, you know, I never see my father cry either, you know, I never seen him cry either, you know? So, you know, that was one of the reasons, he being one of the reasons, like, man, I sure got a lot of shit to change about myself, you know? So hence post incarceration, my dad and I we're best of buds. I talk to him regularly. I'm he's proud of me. I mean, it's a good feeling to know that man, you lived up to the expectation of what they had. Because what I forgot to say earlier in this conversation was, when we're all born, for the most part, our parents, when they hold us, they're not saying, "Oh, well, I'm gonna be visiting you for fucking 17 years." No, they're saying either my child's gonna rise up out of this, and I'm gonna be the tool to help them do so, or her to do so, or my child's gonna be a firefighter. My child's gonna be the president, right? That's when they held us. They didn't think of incarceration. They held us and thought of good things about us. So and now I know when he sees me and we talk, he's seeing that baby he held and said, "Man, you're going to do good in life." So yeah, that's where I am with him today.
Thank you, brother. And Marcus,
Hey, well, I really wanted to
make a
highlight
statement.
this line anyway.
Come on. He'll be
Okay,
back.
because
Go
for
ahead, bro.
sure
Make your
that sister
statement,
gave
though.
us some gas. I'm like, she made it where as though it put you on the other side of the fence as far as me being a male and being in the pen. You know what I mean? I've done approximately almost 20 years, and I did 10 straight. You know what I mean? My wife was kicking them doors down like she was a stallion. You know what I mean? And I can just see the other side of that, the sisters in prison and nobody coming to see them, because our expectations for them is more. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, we know, okay, well, Marcus, he gonna go in and cat off and do what he do. He gonna bust a move. He gonna do all the stuff that we expect him to do. So we know he knocking on the penitentiary gates. You know what I mean? But when it comes to a woman, it's like she's the nurturer. We expect her to be more. And it's like if she fall down that rabbit hole, she really fell down that rabbit hole. You know what I mean? And it's like it's really nobody to reach back down there and grab her, because we are leaving the parents are leaving the kids. Now you got the grandparents raising the grandbabies, and at the same time trying to live their life. But it might be a couple of the grandbabies up in the house. You know what I mean? So it's more of like, okay, man, that's a whole lot of pressure. And then that sister that's sitting behind the wall is like just looking to be able to go to the store. When we up in here, we popping kind all over the place in order for us to be able to go to the store, get the package, all the extra stuff. They just really just trying to get the bare necessities. We want more. You know what I mean? And for sure, we ain't knowing that everything that we taking out of the food of the mouths of the people that we love. You know what I mean? And to see this sister out there taking this opportunity to be able to dig down and be able to see the root of the problem and understand and talk to them in a language that they understand is allowing me to be able to ask her. And I just like, how is you doing it? It's so much work that's got to be put into being able to take that road that she's taking. I'm like, I just want to applaud you and say, I'm over here thinking about how can I be able to, I wish I could win a lotto, because I'll be knocking on the penitentiary gate telling me who needed it. I got it for you. You know what I mean? And I just want to be able to say thank you for the work you're doing. And it's really no question. I just want to be able to tell you that you're doing an amazing job. I got my wife here with me, and she's professional as far as on making sure your boy is good. And she just like, man, that is a job that you done took on. There's not many can do that. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to give props to everybody that was on here. Everybody did a great job, of course, and I'm definitely gonna get the doctor's book. But I do have to say Yvonne. She brought out some good stuff when she was talking about how our parents had us going to that door lying, telling that people weren't there. That was real funny, because I lived that life. But then also, I didn't know that it was a problem with the women that was in prison if they wasn't getting supported like that. That was a big insight for me. So I respect that what she did. And then go back to what Brian and Nina was talking about, as far as like getting out, what you say, once you've been convicted, appeal is the time to redo your trial, not in board. Board is just trying to make sure that you're stable to be out. And so going to board and trying to retry your case is not going to work. So you might as well just go in there, tell the truth or tell what you can, but trying to retry your case again is not going to work. So appeal is the time to do that if you got some type of discrepancies. But definitely, you need to go into board and take responsibility for your commitment offense, because you're going to stay in there your whole time. And I kind of dealt with that some of that too. All my crime, granted, all my crime I didn't commit, but I knew that I had. My counselor told me, she said, if you don't admit to this portion of it, you're gonna stay there the whole 25. And so I kind of knew I kind of had to admit to something. And what I did, I channel some of the stuff that I did wrong, and then I use that and apply towards moving forward. And that's just what I did and able to get out. And so my advice to that is always just go on board, say what they need to hear. They playing a game with you, even if you didn't do it. So you got to play the game back. It's all some type of, revolving door that we trying to stop. And they don't mind you sitting in there. So do what you got to do to get out. Get out and be with your family. So say what you got to say, do what you got to do, but just be honest to yourself in the long run and deal with God with the stuff that you can't deal with nobody else. But again, Yvonne, I appreciate all the insight that you gave me. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Kurt. And I'll say for Kurt, Kurt's significant because he went to YA as a teenager and he never ever went back. He never went to prison, none of that. So he's been home like 30 plus years. He's one of our oldest ones who've been out.
I can't wait to see what's in the future, because we will be able to create the pathway to citizenship, and bowl recovery can be a major part in it.
Amen.
So we're going to move forward and work on that pathway to citizenship so that people don't have to go through the things that we went through. And we can give them a few tips. And now with Yvonne's help and Alice's help, we better get them in college now. So we all the way on.
Los Angeles, California. Huh? Look at here. Look at here. Welcome, everyone. How y'all doing? That's what's up. Yeah, man. We hope to see y'all soon with some more.
LA in the building.
LA in the building. Look, Resilience Amidst Change, Returning Citizen Association, huh?
Niners hat.
Yeah. Resilience Amidst Change. Look at Alex sitting over there. I see you, brother. Welcome, man. Welcome. It's our Los Angeles. Look at sis over there. What's up, sister? Oh yeah, what y'all eating on? I love to see what y'all eating on.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. Look at our tech over there. I see that. That's the tech over there. Welcome.
Great.
So yeah, let's go to another question. I want to see if Raheem, you got something to say, brother?
Yes, I do. First, thank you for having me. Apologize for being late and missing most of the presentations. But the fact that this work is being done, and Ricky, you and I spoke yesterday, and we talked about when something is ailing, there's a remedy for it. There's some type of medicine. When it comes to reducing recidivism, I would like to project this to everyone, and that is we are the medicine. We are the ones who can help others navigate their pathway to success. One, based on our own experiences, and two, based on our passion to be involved in this type of work, because we understand firsthand what it is that everybody that's on the inside is going through, and we understand everything that everyone who has been on the inside and are now outside will be going through. And because of that, it makes us actually experts in helping someone else to navigate their pathway to success.